ultimately what pulled me into Course Careers was that they had partner companies that could reach out to you and offer you jobs, which after 6 months, it didn't really pull through for me, even with prospecting and sending emails and whatnot.
Our platform, Higher Levels, is growing almost exponentially in recent months. We really appreciate the support as always, but with that, many of you are reaching out through our website, through email, and other channels, asking me how we compare to this bootcamp or how we compare to this platform. And instead of me sitting here and talking about why we're amazing, I still have a strong conviction that we are the best offering on the marketplace. I'd rather share a student's experience, Jesser, who recently broke into tech sales after also being former military deployed in Iraq, working in warehouse jobs while in college, someone who has absolutely hustled their way into a strong tech sales position. And whether you're looking into boot camps, considering us and considering other boot camps out there, or whether you're just looking to learn from someone who had an unorthodox background and ultimately was able to break into tech sales, I know you're going to get a lot out of our conversation. And Jesser, thank you as always for your time.
Jesser, maybe set the stage for us just very briefly in terms of your background. What were you doing, and then what kind of piqued your interest in tech sales?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of jobs growing up. I've coached volleyball for 7 years. I've worked several warehouse jobs, and I started in the military reserves in 2019. So since then, I've been in the military for 5 years now, and as of last year, actually, I got deployed to Iraq, and I was there for 10 months. Prior to deployment, I was already interested in tech sales because I saw a lot of videos of people saying, oh, how I turned $500 into a 6-figure job. And I saw these just success stories, and it really just made me think like, man, especially during deployment, I was like, I'm putting in so many hours into this job, and my commission or my salary is just capped at the same thing. So especially in deployment for the first 2-3 months, we were working 12 to 14 hours a day for 7 days a week, and we're in 130-degree weather. So that really motivated me to look for a job that I have control over my income and just really try to excel in it, especially comparably in other fast-paced environments like volleyball and the military. So
yeah. No, love the hustle, and obviously appreciate the service as well. I know I'm curious too. We were talking offline before we started chatting on this recording in terms of you identify that you want to go into tech sales. You are overseas, but kind of have that target of coming back to the US and looking for probably the next full thing. So maybe describe to someone as you get started, what are some of the things you did to ultimately start taking steps towards breaking into tech sales?
Some of the things that I did, I immediately got into LinkedIn. I started looking back on my job experience or anything that could apply towards tech sales, from time management to customer facing roles to just any KPIs or key performance indicators that I could use or leverage and tailor it towards the SDR role. I also started looking at companies through LinkedIn and seeing what ultimately they're looking for in terms of qualities or certain skills. And also to prepare, I've taken 2 other courses. So I've taken Course Careers and Vendition. Both of them, they dove into the responsibilities of the role. And yeah, ultimately I had no success there after coming back. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, Jesser, I'm curious too, like you've been probing in on that. You took Course Careers first. You did that for about 6 months, and then you were enrolled into Tech Sales Ascension. Could you walk us through your process, with the other boot camps, or just like the entire journey? I think that's one that a lot of folks, see some similarity in. Like, how did you navigate that entire process, and what was it like for you?
So when I did Course Careers, it felt cookie cutter like. It was just a sequence of videos, and there wasn't really community in it. I felt like you had to join a Discord server, and we kind of would just ask each other questions through the chats. And it was kind of hard to see about, getting any terms of mentorship through the course. They did provide some valuable information, and ultimately what pulled me into Course Careers was that they had partner companies that could reach out to you and offer you jobs, which after 6 months it didn't really pull through for me, even with prospecting and sending emails and whatnot. So then I sought out Vendition, which very small course, very basic stuff. I want to say maybe an hour of content, and same value prop behind that. They help you find the jobs, and no luck with that either. So what really attracted me to Higher Levels or Tech Sales Ascension was Eric's videos, because he took a very realistic approach to it. And then I saw the introductory video, which showed that you guys were offering multiple perspectives as well, which I really appreciate and value, because you can custom tailor whatever you see fit and put it into one thing, so that way it could work for you.
Definitely. Yeah, and I guess like even looking at that, like what was it, like what was it about those things inside of the course that ultimately helped you out in particular? Like, was there anything specifically where you found more value in, like, because we have so much different stuff inside the course, but was there anything in particular where you were like, oh, this is it, like this makes sense, something that was a little bit more profound than some of the other elements perhaps?
I would say for Tech Sales Ascension, what really drew me in was the audio library of cold calls. Those are very helpful. And then, like I said, the different perspectives in terms of cold email outreach, like different types of emails, and how in depth you guys went with the interview process. You guys did every step of the interview process, and you laid out the expectations, and it was just really helpful to watch and see how you guys would navigate those conversations.
Nice, that's awesome. And I mean, you crushed it as well, so you're a living testament of it all. Could you maybe walk us through like your process, with Alby? Obviously Alby is a fast growing startup, and always curious to hear more about like what these different processes look like. But for your specific situation, what did that look like, and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, so with that, I was actually reached out to a recruiter at Bets, a third party company, and I had a chat with them. They talked about this opportunity at Alby, and I really loved, or what drew me was that they were very growth centered. It was, as a volleyball player and as a military service member, feedback's always important to me. So they drew me in. We set up the first phone call with the manager, or not even phone call, but Zoom meeting. And I really felt comfortable talking to the manager. It's very conversational. And I felt no issues asking for feedback and, learning what I could do better, whether it was during the mock cold call in the first Zoom interview, or even asking questions about the email assignment, which was prior to our final interview, which was with the sales manager and SDR manager.
And like, what did you do to prepare for, all those different rounds in between? And this is my last question before I throw it over to Eric. But just curious, like, what did you do in between those different steps, right? Like, did you look at anything particular, or how did you go about preparing yourself for those rounds?
So for those rounds, ultimately, I went on Higher Levels and I listened to a bunch of different cold calls from SDRs from like User Gems or Humantic AI, and that really helped me apply my experience from AT&T, because I actually did work at AT&T for like 2 months before joining this role. And what really helped with the email assignment was just cross-referencing, all your guys's cold email templates and seeing, okay, so I researched the prospect company, I researched the prospect, and how could I personalize it? So I really just kind of plugged and played different aspects of your guys' emails, and even listened to several of your interviews as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome to hear. No, I appreciate it. I know off the record, you mentioned that Chris's content was in particular the most beneficial to you. So for everyone watching, but no, I think for everyone watching, like regardless of if a boot camp is ultimately the best for them, or if they just want to go about it themselves and use this video as a reference point for them, you looking back on your experience. If it's not too broad of a question, I'd love to pick your brain on maybe what you would do differently and or advice to someone like you that finds out about tech sales and now sets that as the goal. What advice would you give to your younger self?
So I would say, pull the trigger sooner on a boot camp. Honestly, there is a lot of valuable information that you could apply to yourself and really help tailor yourself so that you can showcase your best self, I guess, and show why you're the best person for the job at whatever company. Something I would do differently is I would definitely network a lot more. At the start, I was kind of hesitant on just straight up asking people, hey, could I talk to you for 10, 15 minutes, about your role or why you're successful in it and stuff. And then it's a funny story. I actually networked with this one person who I noticed was a part of the military as well. And he was a corporate recruiter at the time. And he actually gave me all of the questions that were going to be asked in my upcoming interview, as well as the mock call prompt. So literally just finding those connections out there, and they really want you to help you succeed. More on what I would tell my past self as well is to really dive into a company and research it instead of like just spraying and praying applications, because yeah, you can apply to as many jobs as you want, but what they're ultimately looking for are people who are, one, qualified for the job, and two, genuinely interested in that job or wanting to be there. Because I did a couple of interviews where I felt like I was just sitting there and I was just answering questions just to answer questions, versus genuinely researching a company and being like, oh, I love this company's podcast, or I really love what the CEO's message is to his SDR team in this keynote, stuff like that really helped me in my interview process.
And I think one thing, again, on the advice, I think some great nuggets there too, but also for anyone watching, like I love speaking with people that have different kind of distinguished things in their background, where you did athletics, you have that military experience, you've worked warehousing jobs, like much respect. I grinded it out in the food industry for a long time. So I feel that maybe just one ask or one, nugget to give the audience as well. You have all of these different experiences. Like, how did you even package that or begin to make that something that a tech sales company or employer would want?
Yeah, I think what really helped was using ChatGPT, to be honest, to see how I could quantify, or even find those key performance indicators, and then thinking like, oh, okay, how many volleyball players did I coach in my 7 years of coaching? Or, oh, how did I benefit the company? Did I increase sales by 20%? Like, just showing that you made an impact at whichever role you had really helps out.
Yeah, just I'm curious too. You mentioned rejection a little bit. Like, how did you go about, managing rejection, like dealing with it? Like, how did you overcome it? I think that's one of the biggest things that I see folks struggling with, especially getting into sales, where that's going to be the norm. Like, how did you go about that whole, process of getting no's and being rejected?
To be honest, I just looked at it as like every no is leading me one step closer to the yes. Maybe they said no at that time, but I could have easily reached out a couple months later with those warm connections, and that could have been an easy way in. And then also just kind of accepting rejection, like it's going to happen. You're not, unfortunately, there are people who may be more qualified than you, and that's just the reality of this competitive job or industry. Really understanding that, hey, I might get rejected, but at least I came out after that interview knowing that I did my research, I put myself out there, I showed them my best self, and hey, if that wasn't enough, it's okay, because that just means that there's an opportunity elsewhere that I'm going to be a perfect match for. Like, it's literally a week or two before I got the job, I was talking to my best friend, and I was just like, man, you know, I just worked 75 hours at AT&T and my paycheck was only $800. And I was so sad at that. And then I was like, yeah, you know, it's not enough to keep me afloat. So I have to work Amazon too, you know, overnight from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. And I was really bummed out about that. And he's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. You're going to get through this, and there's going to be a job out there that they love you. So, and then literally a week or two later, got the call that I got the job and was like, oh, awesome. Like, I don't have to, you know, work for, you know, 18 hours a day or something like that, you know? Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, super excited for you, Jesser. And I mean, your journey and, you know, just like everything you went through is a testament to, you know, your willpower and also your time in the Army. Like, I'd love to see folks with different backgrounds take some of that, apply it into the process too. So congrats again on everything. And yeah, super excited to see you just absolutely crush it from here on out. So I appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for creating a wonderful, you know, course. And it really did offer so much value towards, you know, the interview process or prospecting companies and just ultimately finding which opportunity would be best for me. So
awesome, Jesser. Well, hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you for taking the time today.
yeah, no problem. All right. Have a good one, y'all.